Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Galactic Science with Arturio and Emerys. In this episode I wanted to show you what I've done to the upland area of my base in Galactic Science. This is somewhat similar in design to what I had in the community server world. It's a little different, but the basic idea of the floodlights on top with the blast-proof glass on top to protect from the meteors is the same. Something a little different. I tried something out here. I had heard that compressed cobblestone was blast resistant, so I put this out here, and I discovered that information is not 100% correct. This is from a creeper. This was just from a few minutes ago. So creepers can destroy this. I don't know if meteors can, because I don't think a meteor's actually hit the compressed cobble yet. But yeah, let's just actually test this here. I'll show you. Now, that isn't bad. That's only a single hole. The one over there, he actually blew, I think 7 or 8 of them out. Some of them I got back, so I filled 3 of them back in. So this is not fully blast resistant. It's not fully blast resistant to creepers. And I can tell you it's not blast resistant hardly at all to creating stars. So I set up this system over here. And originally, I was just using this the single compressed cobblestone, and underneath here I have an oxygen bubble system, just like what's in there. And on top of that, I had a layer of the compressed cobble with the netherrack on here. Hopefully, I was hoping that the compressed cobble would protect the oxygen bubble system underneath when the star detonated. It did not. It actually blew a pretty big hole in it. It tore up a lot of the cobble. It tore up a lot of the leaves underneath, which is not surprising because they have virtually 0 blast resistance. And I don't remember if it damaged the actual equipment for making an oxygen bubble or not, if I had to recreate it. But after that happened, what I did was I went and I made more of this enlightened fused quartz, which not only emits light, it's also 100% blast resistant. And then I replaced the compressed cobble underneath here with that enlightened fused quartz. So when this does detonate, it doesn't damage the oxygen production system underneath. It will damage the netherrack, but there's no way around that. You just have to replace the netherrack every time you do this. And I did make a whole bunch of these of the stars because you need them for several different things. Most notably, what I did was I fully upgraded this solar panel. And that was a bit of work, because if you look at what it takes, you only get 1 as a quest reward. The recipe for... why is that not working? Boy, this game just does not want to cooperate with me today. Okay, I understand what's going on. The recipe for solar panel 1 has been disabled. That's why I can't get NEI to bring it up. You can't make this. You only get it as a quest reward. You only get 1. But you can upgrade it. The first one is really, really awful. It doesn't store much power, it doesn't produce much, and it doesn't transfer much. So the first one is pretty useless. Once you get to Mars, you can upgrade this, and it gets a little better. It's not great, but it gets a little better. It takes blocks of Desh. That's a fair amount of Desh. For this one, you have to go to Mercury to get the iridium crystals. And at that point, it's starting to produce significant amounts of power. When you get to level 4, it takes nether stars, which you can make with your fusion reactor. And level 4, again, it's producing quite a bit of power. Level 5, it takes the poly tools. And these are actually not that bad. As long as you have a large supply of diamonds, you decompose the diamonds for the carbon, and then the carbon, you take the carbon nanotubes, which you make from in a synthesis machine. So it takes a lot of carbon to do this. To make enough to upgrade that solar panel, I forget what the exact math is, but it's something like 20 stacks of diamonds. It's a lot. But if you have a system set up like I have downstairs, it's doable. So you combine the carbon to make the carbon nanotubes. Where's the recipe for the nanotubes? Okay. And then the nanotubes you combine to make the poly tool. And that's how you make the tier 5. And again, the production for tier 5 is pretty good. I mean, 1,000 RF a tick is nothing to sneeze at. Tier 6, this takes a bit of work because you have to have 8 stars. And it says 8 stars any type, but they have to be 8 of the same star. And so it may take you a while to get those. But when you do, now you're making 4,000 RF a tick. And that's quite a bit of power. So what this does for me is everything up here is being powered from that one solar panel. Now what you have to make sure is you can have glass above it. It will transmit light through glass. You can't have anything else above it though. And it's nighttime now, so it's actually consuming power. But since none of this really uses a whole lot, it's fine. It's not a problem. So if we go down here, come on, work with me here. I've ripped out the entire power system that was in here. I suppose I could fill this back in, but it doesn't hurt anything for it to stay there, so I haven't done that. At one point, I was pretty much out of logs because the automated production system that you saw in previous episodes, I left running for a very, very short period of time. 15 or 20 minutes, it went through 800 stacks of logs. So there were a couple of days where I just left this running while I wasn't playing, parked myself in the energy bubble or the oxygen bubble downstairs, and just let it run for several hours, and it kind of built everything back up. So that's kind of cool. What else? I eventually made one of each of the rockets. This is a tier 1. There's a tier 2. There's a tier 3. You can see they've got holes punched in the roof. And I'm hoping that this is not just a coincidence. I'm hoping that what I believe is actually true. Where you have a launch pad, I have never had a single meteor strike on a launch pad. So I'm hoping that, having those holes in the ceiling, I'm still protected from meteors because there's launch pads there. Perhaps I've just been lucky up till now. I also built a moon buggy, which is a little weird. I wish this were daytime right now, because you get in here, you can hit F to see how much fuel it has, just like one of the rockets. And you can use your normal movement keys for rotating it, but it rotates and you kind of stay looking in the same direction you were looking in. So that's a little weird. But then you can go forward, and it basically just kind of drives over whatever, like even that wall, it just kind of drove over that. And on flat areas, it's relatively quick. And unfortunately, that stupid thing is in the way, so you can't see real well. When you're going up and down hills, it does slow down a bit. But it will pick up speed. So that's kind of cool. It's a little weird to drive. And the fact that it does kind of drive over stuff like that is a little strange. I believe it's like a horse shift L to get out. And then you can brake it with a pick. There we go. And then put it back on the fueling pad. I'm not sure how much fuel it used, but there we go. So that's kind of cool. If you want to go explore moon dungeons, it's pretty good for that. It's pretty fast. At some point, maybe I'll go explore a moon dungeon with it. This is a bug. That one doesn't really exist. When you break it with a pick, it leaves one on the ground like that. But it's not really there. That's just some kind of visual bug. I don't really understand it. So it did not duplicate the buggy. I did add a very small sugar farm here. I don't remember why. I needed it for something. I don't know what. Missing a piece of dirt there. But I needed it for something, so I built one. I don't remember what it was. So let me just fill this in. Now you can, oh, I wasn't quite on the elevator. There we go. So this is what the very top area looks like. Oop. And I have gotten some meteor strikes up here, and you can see that this glass does a perfect job of preventing them. Perfectly blast resistant. And that's part of the reason why I like it, is because it is fully blast resistant, and it also emits light. Because if I used one of the other glasses up here that's blast resistant but doesn't emit light, if you have to come up here for some reason, it's very, very dark. And even though, like the obsidian glass, it would be dark up here. And I don't believe mobs will spawn on any of the glass, either the obsidian glass or this blast resistant glass. It's just if I come up here to get meteors, it's dark and I don't like it. So this is where I did the stars. I basically went down there with flint and steel and ignited all of the netherrack that's within the oxygen bubble that you can see. And then I threw the heart of the stars through here to make them. And that took quite a while to make enough for the various things that I needed the stars for. So I think that's it for this episode. These 3 episodes I was trying to focus on the bottom level, the mid level, and the top level. And I've kind of done that. The top level kind of has the least to talk about. I guess I can talk about this real quick. So if I grab a stack of logs, if you put them in this chest here, transfer node pulls them in, feeds them into these crucibles, and they melt very, very quickly into oil. Liquid transfer node draws the oil off into this refinery, and you can see that that's increasing. The refinery refines it into fuel. Everything's full now, so it doesn't really need any. And the fuel goes to each of these fuel loaders. There's 4 of them, one for each rocket and one for the moon buggy. And also power is coming from the solar panels to feed all of these fuel loaders. So that one fully upgraded solar panel is powering 3 launch pads, a buggy fueling pad, the oxygen bubble here, the oxygen bubble there, and this tree farm. So 4,000 RF a tick is quite a bit. I'm not sure how much else I could power from this. At night, again, this kind of drains down. I haven't sat and watched it to see how far it drains down, so I don't know if it actually completely empties. And I guess there are some sort of expansions I can put here. I'm not sure what they are. Solar flux. Okay, so there's a furnace upgrade. I think that's literally for a furnace. I don't know what that is. Okay, so this would increase transfer rate. This would increase capacity. So this, if I made these and put them in there, then at night they would produce a little bit more power. During the day it won't produce any more, but at night it'll produce a little more. Efficiency upgrade increases the amount of RF generated by 5%. And a blank upgrade is, I guess, how you make these mirrors. Yeah, they're not too terribly hard to make. I don't know how much they would improve this. And it works. I don't know that I need to upgrade it, so I may just leave it alone. So that is pretty much everything. I hope you all enjoyed the episode. I hope you all got something, got some good information out of it. If you did, please leave a like. Consider subscribing if you haven't subscribed. And comments are always welcome. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. And I hope to see you next time. Arturio.